Have you ever stood at the front of a conference room and watched your audience slowly fade away? Eyes glaze over, phones come out, and you realize you've lost them. When a presentation fails, it usually isn't because the core idea is flawed. It fails because the delivery is forgettable. Chip and Dan Heath mapped out a solution to this problem in their book Made to Stick. Their framework takes a massive, unstructured concept and organizes it into a presentation that people will actually remember. To put this into practice today, you'll need three things: a specific product or idea you want to pitch, the core problem it solves, and a blank notepad to build your outline. By moving your ideas through this strict four-part structure, you force your audience to lean in and actively engage with your pitch, right from the very first slide. Step 1 is the introduction. You have 3 reliable angles to grab an audience's attention right away. You can highlight something unexpected, give them an emotional reason, or provide a simple, unifying message. If you open with statements that sound like common sense, people will instantly tune you out. We need to jolt them out of autopilot by leading with something surprising. Let's look at how we might pitch the Google Translate app. We'll start with a question. How many languages do you need to know to communicate with the rest of the world? While the audience tries to guess a number, we hit them with the answer. Just one, your own. And right beside that answer, we show them the app interface, making it possible. Notice that we didn't wait until slide 10 to show the product. Give them the bottom line and reveal your solution up front, so they have context for everything else you are about to say. Take a moment now to write down the opening for your pitch. Pick your angle, draft a hook, and reveal your product by the second slide. Earning the room's focus in these opening moments buys you the runway you need to explain the details of your idea. Now that you have their attention, you have to explain the problem. This is where most pitches devolve into abstract corporate jargon. Instead, we are going to introduce a specific person experiencing a real issue. We do this by defining the who and the what. For example, this is Alberto. He recently moved from Spain to Ireland. He loves soccer, but a language barrier prevents him from communicating with his new coaches and teammates. To show the versatility of the translation app, we bring in a totally different perspective. Meet Marcos. He runs a camera shop in Paris, and he is struggling to help international tourists because of the language gap. Now we show the solution in action. Marcos uses the app to have customers explain their camera issues, allowing him to fix their problems. Alberto's coaches use it to ask him to play and assign him a position on the field. If we had just written out a bulleted list of the app's features, the audience would forget them instantly. By pairing a minimal amount of text with a strong image of a real person, the use case becomes tangible. We anchor that human story with concrete results. Because Alberto could communicate with his team, he scored 30 goals in 21 games and became a star player. Return to your notepad. Write down a specific persona who needs your product, their exact pain, and the concrete outcome achieved with your solution. People naturally care about another person overcoming an obstacle. They will tune in for a story of triumph, but they will completely ignore a dry list of technical capabilities. Personal stories build empathy, but you still have to prove to your audience that this problem happens on a scale large enough to matter. The challenge is that statistics are inherently difficult to remember. You should never present a raw, isolated number alone on a slide. To make your data stick, restrict yourself to just 1 or 2 essential statistics and tie them directly to a concept your audience already understands. Let's look at international travel data. This bar shows that more than 50 million Americans traveled abroad in 2015. To make that abstract number digestible, we compare it to something familiar. 50 million is more than the population of California and Texas combined. Return to your outline. Select the single most important number proving the scale of your idea and write down a comparison putting it into perspective. By anchoring a large number to a familiar visual, your audience immediately understands the size of the opportunity without having to do any mental math. We've established the problem, the solution, and the scale. The final step of the pitch is designed entirely to convert the audience's interest into absolute confidence. One way to build that trust is by showing momentum. A milestones timeline proves that you have a track record of executing your ideas and hitting your goals over time. You can also include a testimonial slide. Highlighting quotes from actual end users provides objective social proof that your product works in the real world. Finally, you must end by giving your audience clear instructions on what to do next. You need a definitive call to action, or CTA, that asks them to complete one specific task. A strong call to action removes all friction. It can be as simple as asking them to download an app or join a community, like this slide asking bilingual users to improve translations. Go to your notepad one last time. Note whether you will use milestones or testimonials, and write out the exact action you want your audience to take when you finish speaking. If you walk out without assigning a clear next step, all the logic and goodwill you built up simply evaporates the moment the meeting ends. Look over the notes you've taken. You should now have the 4 foundational pillars of your presentation mapped out on the page. You've structured a massive, disorganized idea into a tight narrative, a surprising hook, a relatable human story, scaled data, and a decisive final action. Your next step is to take this outline and drop the text into your presentation software. Find clean, simple images to match your examples, and practice delivering the script out loud. Putting your big idea through this rigorous filter takes work, but it is the primary difference between a pitch that gets ignored and a pitch that people actually remember.